I'm wondering how many people in this world truly understand what self-esteem is. In order to understand what self-esteem is, one must understand what the self is. Perhaps it's easier to understand what the self is if we understand what the self is not. What the self is not your hair, it's not your eyes, it's not how much money you make in a year, it's not what kind of car you drive, it's not what kind of clothes you wear, it's not how thin you are, it's not how heavy you are, it's not how smart you are, it's not how funny you are, it's not how boring you are. That's not yourself. What yourself is a knowing. It's an observer. How many people out there, while you're watching this video, are actually having a conversation in the back of their mind somewhere? Maybe it's about, I don't know, a new business venture. Maybe it's about what your boyfriend's doing. Maybe it's about what your husband did last night. Or maybe it's about what you ate today, or what you're not going to eat today, or how fat you were today. I don't know what it is, but most of us have this tape recorded message going on somewhere in the back of our heads. We need to pay attention to that voice. Follow me now. If you can stop and hear that voice and look at it and hold on to that, just look at what's being said in the back of your mind, and you just hear it. Can you do that? What I want you to do is pay attention to that. Not so much what's being said, but what yourself is actually the observer of those thoughts. I'll say that again. Most of us have this subconscious dialogue that we can't even hear going on inside of us. All of us have that. But many of us are aware of the fact that we have this conversation going on in the back of our mind somewhere while we're existing in the real world in real time. So actually, while you're watching this video, you may in fact have this conversation go on in the back of your head. True or not true? If you're honest with yourself, I would imagine that there is some type of a conversation going on in the back of your head, whether or not you're aware of it or not. Well, what yourself is that awareness. You are not your thoughts, you're not your anger, and you're not your fears. You're not even your joy. You are the observer of all those emotions. You are not your reactions. You are not your disappointments. You are not even your achievements. What you are is much deeper, much greater than that, much more divine than that. What you are is an observer. What you are is the knowing. The thing about you that sees your thoughts, the thing about you that can see your feelings. That's who you are. And at your core, you're perfect. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how much money you make or how much money you don't make. It doesn't matter how heavy you are or how thin you are. None of that matters. It doesn't matter if you're married or if you're single or if you've never had a boyfriend and you've never had a girlfriend. It doesn't matter. Who you are is much, much greater than that. If you look up into the sky and you see the sun, you know something wonderful created the sun, otherwise it wouldn't be here. If you looked at a flower and you saw its beauty, and you saw its grace and its elegance, and you were able to smell it, and you smelled the fragrance, and it made you feel wonderful. Some entity, some divinity created that flower. And the really cool thing is that the same divinity that created that sun and the same divinity that created that flower created you. What you are, that's who you are. That is your essence. It is not good. It's not bad. It's wonderful. Your essence is perfect. Beyond anything you could ever imagine being wonderful, that's what you are. The problem is that we were born to flawed people. We were born to flawed circumstances. Many of us were born into two people who had no idea what the hell they were doing. And they were flawed. And they had troubled childhoods. And they brought all those wounds from childhood into their adulthood, into parenthood, and didn't realize that they were hurting us. They did the best that they could. They did the best they could with the cards that they were dealt with. In our society today, most people are unconscious. What I mean by that is most people are on autopilot. They're not aware of the fact that they have choices. In every moment, we have a choice. Most people go on in life just doing exactly what they did the day before. They don't question it. They don't wonder why they did it. They don't know why it is they get up and they walk one route to work, to the bus stop. They don't know why they're in the job that they're in. They don't even know if they're happy. They don't know what they want for dinner. They just eat perhaps what they eat every Tuesday and don't realize that they have a choice. A lot of people have lost touch with themselves, but a lot of people say that, and I know that, and I've heard self-esteem coaches say that before, and I've heard life coaches say that before. I've even heard Dr. Phil say that before, and Oprah, but the truth is, many of us were never in touch with ourselves. And that's the sad thing. When we're little children, what's supposed to happen is our parents are supposed to mirror back to us a sense of self. We're supposed to be told that we're good. We're supposed to be told that we're enough. But that very rarely happens. Instead, we're taught a bunch of rules. We're taught a bunch of programming. We're taught to deal with life very much the same way that our parents were taught to deal with life. And know why it is we're dealing, why it is we're being taught those things. We just keep doing what we've been taught to do. And until we stop as adults, or even young children can stop in their tracks and hear themselves. Young children have the ability to be aware. Young children have the ability to tune into self-awareness and to become the observer of their own thoughts. If my daughter comes home from school and she happens to say something mean to another child in school, I can teach her to look at that and say, why did you do that? Why did you hurt someone else's feelings? What is it in you that made you feel like you had to hurt someone? What would have been a better thing for you to do? What would have been a better way for you to handle that conflict? How is it going to get better by you feeding into a negative conversation or a situation by being more negative? I can help teach my children, and I do it with passion, how to look past what's going on right in front of them, is to look beyond that and to think beyond that. And that's what all of us need to do. And that truly is the key to happiness, is developing a true sense of self. And what I'd like all of you to do is to try to get in touch with your sense of self. What I mean by that is to start paying attention to the voice that's going on in the back of your head. Hear the conversations. See if you're one of those people that actually splits themselves in two, who are able to be one place physically, but someplace else mentally. See if you do that. And if you do, try to stop. Try to become one. Try to integrate. Try to hear what you're saying. And then look, don't be afraid to look at it. Don't be afraid to catch yourself saying, I've done it that's the way I learned. That's how I became self-aware. That's why I'm a self-esteem, self-awareness coach. Because I've taught myself to be extremely aware of my attitude. And my circumstances do not dictate my attitude. My attitude is one of positivity. I would say I strive 90% of the time. 10% of the time, I fall into being human. But once upon a time, I used to be maybe 80% negative, gloom and doom, why me, poor me. And then I started to pay attention to the voice in my head, and I realized there was a lot of codependent things that I needed to work through, and we'll talk about that next time. But for now, what I'd like you to do to start developing a stronger sense of self is to just start paying attention to what's going on back here. If you can start paying attention to the voice in the back of your head, that taped conversation, and then on top of that, you can start being aware that you are the observer of those thoughts, that you are not those thoughts. Then what we can do is teach you how to be less reactive to those unconscious thoughts. Because the sad thing is that this conversation is going on, which is due to conditioning and programming and however you were raised. That's why you're having those thoughts, and then you're reacting. So you're creating a life and a lifestyle through reactions to thoughts that you're not even in control over. So in order to create the life that you want and have you manifest, all the things that you truly deserve in life, first we have to get you to pay attention to the fact that these thoughts are taking place and that you're reacting to those thoughts and you're completely unconscious, walking through life on autopilot. So if we can get you first to observe your own mind, then the next step, we can get you to start deciding how you want to react to certain situations. And when we're able to do that, you're on the road. There's no stopping you. There'll be no stopping you. You'll be able to decide exactly what you want to do, where you want to go, and how far you want to go. And It's wonderful when you begin to integrate mind, body, and soul. But first, you have to start hearing that voice in the back of your head and understanding you're the observer of those thoughts. And once we start doing that, we can really get you on the road to self-esteem. So enjoy the ride.